on the sports court. Back in effect. Hey, so things happen, but we don't run from nothing. So we're back again. What I was saying was, before I got rudely interrupted, Grade A Media, Grade A Radio, you listen to the Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty. Hey, Eddie, he'll be back next week or the next week or two. He's been dealing with some injuries and things like that. As a matter of fact, some injuries from a car accident. So keep him in your prayers. He's okay. He's doing fine. He'll be back in the next week or two, and we'll make it happen like we always do. But as far as tonight, again, I am here doing it solo. Skrilla, like I used to do back when I first started, man. Solo grind. Hey, but again, we are back once again. Like I said, the Sports Court, the show where we keep it 100% of the time. I was mentioning some high school football before I was rudely interrupted right there. But I was talking about some high school football that's near and dear to my heart that'll be coming up here in the near future, of course. Everyone knows high school football here in Texas is big. I mean, Texas, California, Ohio, Florida. I mean, it's nothing like it. Pretty much everywhere you want to go, high school football is major. So really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to broadcasting some more high school football games for Texan Live, doing some color analyst work. Looking forward to that and some other things I have in store. So, hey, that should be fun. Of course, the usual suspects. You have Atascocita, Katy, of course, North Shore, of course, and they're going to be the juggernauts year in and year out because they just have the talent, and you know they're going to be there at the end of the day. You know those teams are going to be right there in the running. And then, of course, we have college football. My Buckeyes, the Buckeyes coming in ranked number 2. Of course, that means nothing unless they win it all, in my opinion. It's either national championship or bust. But, of course, they're still raking up in the recruiting aspects of things. They're still raking up in 2023, the number 1 class up to this point. So they haven't signed yet, but they're commitments. And, of course, you have commitments, Texas A&M, the aforementioned Texas A&M from a few weeks ago, and we were talking about Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban and that feud, or not so much of a feud as we found out. But Texas A&M actually got a commit from the top linebacker in the nation. From the top linebacker in the nation. They got that commitment from him. Texas A&M did. Let me put his name right here. I jotted down a whole bunch of stuff right here. I got scrabble everywhere. Hey, 2023 class, Xavier Booker. He actually committed to MSU in basketball, on the basketball side of things. I had a few high school things wrote down right here. That's the basketball side of things. The number 3 overall top power forward, number 3 overall prospect as far as basketball is concerned. He committed to Michigan State. So the Big Ten just continues to add that quality talent as far as basketball as well as football. So in football, of course, Anthony Hill Jr., I was just talking about, committed to Texas A&M. He's the number 1 linebacker. He's the number 1 linebacker in the nation, number 1 high school linebacker. So he just committed to Texas A&M. And so really look forward to, again, calling some high school football games this year from a color analyst side of things. And, man, Ed will be doing our thing again. I actually hooked him up a couple of years ago, and he loves it. He loves it as well. So we'll be doing our thing in that. And so I'll keep you posted on that as the weeks progress, certain games and whatnot to listen to check out. But I'll tell you this. There's a lot. Let me see. I'm about to read a text right here live on air. Again, you're listening to the Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty. Not alongside Eddie Cox tonight. He'll be back. And speaking of back, he kind of has a back injury right now. And I've been trying to get him on that hoop court. And, hey, I've been trying to get – hey, man, my boy C-Ton said, keep it up, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, man. And as a matter of fact, his brother Brett, BT, was just in here last week. But, hey, trying to get him on that basketball court to show him what it's like. So now he has the back problem. Then he says he has a knee problem. So we shall see. But actually, to be honest with you, I don't really shoot that much basketball anymore because as I've gotten older, I love just like shooting around, running, staying in shape. But all that quick twitch, I cannot afford a serious knee injury or anything like that. I remember when I first stopped playing basketball as far as on a competitive nature, as far as going to the park, playing blah, blah, blah. Hell, I was probably about 40 at the time. But it seems like the last 3 or 4 times I played, something was telling me, hey, it's time to stop doing this on a consistent basis. Not saying don't shoot around every now and then. I know you're competitive. Not saying don't go get you a game in every now and then, which I hadn't done in a while. But the thing about it is, it seems like every time either somebody's coming down on my leg. I almost had a broken leg one time going for a rebound. Somebody went for a rebound right in front of me and fell back, trying to do too much, doing too much. It's not that serious. Fell back on my leg. I got my leg out the way just in time. Would have had a broken leg right there probably. Then I was twisting ankles and twisting this. I was still doing my thing. I could still move with the best of them. Could still move, but of course, as I got older, I had to pace myself more as far as just pick and choose my spots when I want to show them what's up as far as, I'm not the best basketball player in the world, but I've been playing, hey, me and my brother had a goal at the house. Everybody from the neighborhood used to come shoot ball at our house, but I could do my thing, but I'm going to get Eddie on the court, though, and see what he's made of on that basketball court. So we shall see. And, of course, there's some basketball stuff. Hey, Bill Russell, may he rest in peace. I'll touch on that here coming up soon, too, as well. But, of course, NFL, we got Deshaun Watson news. We have, of course, the MLB trade deadline is actually today. Now, I don't know if the Astros made any more moves than they made yesterday. But one thing the Astros did as of yesterday, who did the Astros? Now, they fulfilled 3 of their biggest needs now, actually, by the trade deadline. And now, again, I don't have the latest update if they made any more moves since yesterday, but they acquired Trey Mancini. Designated hitter. He can also play the outfield from the Baltimore Orioles, a team that's doing a lot better, but of course they're always in a rebuild mode. So that's great for the Astros right there. You're talking about Trey Mancini. You're talking about a guy who could actually spell Yuli Gurriel. He could actually play the outfield when need be, can give you pop at the plate, has a great eye. So it's somebody that fits into what the Astros do, a great contact hitter as well. And him and Velasquez, Christian Velasquez from the Red Sox. But because what the Astros want to do right now, they want to go for a World Series championship this season. So they're doing everything that they can to make that happen this season. So, of course, they gave up some prospects and things of that sort, and that's what happens. That's what happens in MLB. They gave up some prospects, but that's what you have to do if you want to yield a championship contender, a championship team. And so they also got Will Smith from the Braves. So you're talking about, and going back to Trey Mancini real quick, I saw his interview before I left home today, and I was really – hey, you're talking about a guy that's excited. I mean, to be able to leave the Baltimore Orioles, a team that you know is not going anywhere as far as the playoffs are concerned. And trust me, he gave his farewell, and they definitely gave him a nice farewell as well. You have to remember, Trey Mancini, this is somebody that you want on your roster if you're the Astros. That's a guy that actually that's overcome colon cancer. So it shows you the grit he has. It shows you the fight he has. It shows you the tenacity he has, and just his will to survive and his will to win. And so that's something. So I think he's going to fit right in with the Astros with that personality. He seemed very happy today to be in Houston wearing that Houston Astros jersey. The same with Christian Velasquez, who's leaving the Boston Red Sox. And we know the Red Sox, they're not having the year that they have had or they probably would have liked up to this point, of course, with the Yankees running away with things. And you have Tampa Bay. You have Tampa in that division as well. You have the Toronto Blue Jays, a nice, young, up-and-coming team as well. So Trey Mancini, of course, the Orioles were the bottom. They were the bottom dwellers of that division year in and year out, even though they've shown some promise as far as being somewhat better than they have been in the past. But you look at Trey Mancini in that interview, and he was so relieved, seemed like, to be out of Baltimore, and so happy to be out of Baltimore. And so, hey, Velasquez, Will Smith. I mean, Velasquez is another guy that has some pop in that bat. So can spell Maldonado. Of course, you can't catch Maldonado every game. As the year wanes on, it's going to get, the dog days of summer is going to get even hotter than it already is. And speaking of heat, hey, it has been blazing out there. But this is Texas. This is Houston. This is what it is. This is what we do. Hey, the humidity is what it is. It is what it is. So you can't run from the heat. Unless you run out of state. But it's the summer anyway, so that's what happens. But again, you have Velasquez. I'm sorry. Vasquez. Christian Vasquez is his name, coming from Boston. So Maldonado, in this heat, you cannot catch him every day. So what that does, and he has a more consistent bat. Vasquez has a more consistent bat than Maldonado. Then he's coming from the Boston Red Sox. So he's played in big games. He understands the moment. And so I'm sure that things are not going to be being with the Houston Astros, of course, first and foremost, those guys know that they just got traded to a legitimate contender. That's first and foremost why they're happy. Of course, and just to feel wanted, when a team trades for you, you're still wanted by another team. But it always helps when you're traded to a contender. And that we know the Houston Astros are. We know the Houston Astros are a team that's probably – now, of course, the Yankees have the best record in Major League Baseball right now, but I'll say this, the Astros have handled them this season. Don't want to get too caught up in what they're doing. The Astros pitching has been stellar, still waiting to get Michael Brantley back, and so Dusty Baker is doing a wonderful job. And so, but I still think the Astros are the team to beat in MLB, and we saw what they were able to do against the Yankees. And really, I think the record this year is 6-2, and if it wasn't for a couple of Aaron Judge heroics in one game, I know for sure, and I can't remember the other guy, but a couple of walk-offs, even though in those two games that they did lose, they handled the Yankees very well and probably should have won those games, but they didn't. They lost those games, and it is what it is. But I don't want to put too much into regular season other than the fact that the Astros pitching looked stellar against the Yankees, and just the overall team looked very good against the Yankees. The Yankees are a team that's just running away with things. They're on a record pace as far as wins are concerned, and we know what Aaron Judge is doing. So I like how the Astros stacked up against them before this trade. Again, you have Will Smith. So now they probably could use some more pitching as well. And I don't know. Again, I don't know what's actually transpired since I left home or since the trade deadline. I think at 5 p.m. was the trade deadline or something like that. But Will Smith comes from the Braves, a team that, again, he has championship pedigree, championship experience, and so the moment is not going to be too big for him. So, hey, I think the Astros did a great job of improving themselves, and hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do moving forward. Hey, now, and the thing about it is, in baseball, now who is the player that actually but I know this. In baseball, it's not like football where, okay, if you're going to trade somebody, you got to have to get a big-time player in return that's already proven, already established for the most part. But, hey, in baseball, that's not the question. That's not the case. The question is rather, and that's the thing that I don't like so much about baseball as far as trading for prospects, because, for one, now, in baseball, one thing they do, once they trade for these high-level prospects, the thing about it is they pretty much give them 6 years throughout that 6-year tenure, and they pretty much see if they compare them to the prospects that either they didn't trade for or didn't trade, and then they say, but that's what happens in baseball. They trade for prospects. I wasn't born, but I remember hearing about a situation where the only time that was probably going to happen where you traded big star for big star, it's probably happened a number of times since then. But usually these days, they pretty much trade for prospects more so than anything. Top level prospects if you're trying to win now. And these teams that's trying to win right now, they will give up what they have to give up from the farm system to get some of these players. But it's interesting because sometimes these other teams, it bodes well for them, even though they're probably giving up prospects or whatever. You see in the long run if those prospects turn out. So sometimes you don't know. The prospects that you're trading for, you don't know if they're going to turn out or not. But that's what happens. And again, the only other time that I can remember hearing about where they were probably going to trade straight up, big star for big star without any prospects involved was when the Yankees were entertaining trading for Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio for Ted Williams, Ted Williams for Joe DiMaggio. I mean, think about that. Now, that was back in the day, and of course that didn't happen. But the question is also, is to see, it creates a situation where you want to see if these prospects flounder or not. And again, so in baseball, you never know what you're getting in return. You know the potential, but you never really know. And then at the same time, some of those teams that traded for those prospects, they might get hoodwinked at the end of it, and they probably won't win what they thought they were going to win and things of that sort. So it's a risky chance you're taking is what I'm saying when you're actually giving up an abundance of prospects. I don't care where they're ranked or whatever, if they're not proven commodities. And so that's what happens in baseball. You look at now the big news, obviously, in baseball is Juan Soto. Stay tuned. We're going to talk football, going to talk Deshaun Watson, going to talk whatever y'all want to talk about. Whatever y'all want to talk about, we're going to talk. But I'll tell you this, Juan Soto, if the deal went through like I think it did, he's headed to the San Diego Padres. Juan Soto he's vaulting to the San Diego Padres, and they're actually, they're trying to improve their postseason chances for sure. They are acquiring a generational talent. Now, you heard me talk about Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio. Ted Williams, the only man to ever bat over 400. Joe DiMaggio, his 56-game hit streak will never be broken. Never. It will never be broken. I'm telling you that right now. It will never be broken. It is too hard with the way these pitchers are pitching today. That would never be broken. I think Pete Rose got to 41 at one time, and you know how great Pete Rose is. He should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way, but that's a story for another day. But Juan Soto, a generational talent. Now, just think about it. He already has a World Series ring to his credit. He helped out in that 2019 World Series run by the Washington Nationals. And, of course, the Nationals, ever since then, it's like, okay, we're done. We got our World Series. Now it's time to tear up. I mean, just think about who they've lost since then or traded. I mean, of course, Scherzer is gone. Now he's teaming up with Jacob DeGrom, who's actually on the mend. He'll be back for the Mets. But you have the Nationals, Mike Rizzo, and that franchise. Now they're in total rebuild mode. But you lost Scherzer, you lost Rendon. Of course, Rendon, who's been a disappointment, he's been injured a lot too. So Bryce Harper, of course. Who else did they lose? Scherzer, Bryce Harper. Even though Bryce Harper was not there when they won that World Series. Rendon. Who else did they lose? But whatever the case is, Kyle Schwarber. And even though Kyle Schwarber was not on that was Kyle Schwarber on that World Series team? I don't think. I know he was there last season, but now he's doing this thing with the Phillies as well. So, and again, Juan Soto, 23 years old, soon to be 24, I think in December, if I'm not mistaken. Generational talent, superb hitter, great eye at the plate. And the Padres, now they're going to see if that helps them get them over the hump to where now they can challenge with the Los Angeles Dodgers. We all know what the Dodgers are doing this year. The Dodgers are a team to be reckoned with. They have superstars all over the field. And Dave Thomas, he just continues to manage that team at a very high level. But the San Diego Padres are now going for it. They're going for it all right now with the addition of Juan Soto. Now, that's a guy right there, again, at the plate, is almost second to none right now. Don't really get caught up in his numbers this past season because he did not have the protection in Washington this season. So he didn't have the hitters around him. So I think he was batting like 240, 45 RBIs, 20 home runs. And then a lot of that too, I mean, you get tired of going, even though you're getting paid a lot of money, that's your job. You don't really have that oomph to go to the ballpark every day if you know you have no chance of winning, or if you know the organization. I mean, he turned down, 15 years, $440 million. So I'm sure he's going to be very happy in San Diego because he's playing on a team that has a lot of young talent. We all know about Fernando Tatis, who's on the mend right now from that wrist surgery. And that concerns me about Fernando Tatis Jr. and that wrist, because you don't want to start having too many injuries. As a hitter and as a baseball player, you don't want to start having too many injuries to your arms. He had shoulder, his shoulder kept popping in and out of place last season. I mean, he missed a number of games because, his shoulder's in place, now it's not in place. He's out for 2 weeks, now he's back. So maybe during this time he's had a chance to heal, and over the summer, obviously. But now he's recovering from a fractured wrist. So when he comes back, you have Manny Machado. So they gave up Eric Hosmer. So obviously, in order for that deal to have gone through, he had to waive his non-trade provision. And he had agreed to an 8-year deal worth $144 million in 2018. But again, you add Soto, batted .351 in 2020. Also won the batting title. So he won the batting title in 2020, won the World Series in 2019. So the guy right there, again, now he's going to have that protection. He's going to be happy living in San Diego, great weather, a team that's on the rise. So he's going to be locked in, loaded, feeling like he has a chance to win this year. And that's a major move. That's a major move for the San Diego Padres. And, of course, they got prospects in return, like I was just talking about. They got a lot of prospects in return. So I think 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. Allegedly, this is the best prospect haul in a long time as far as anyone can remember for a player. So that shows you how great Juan Soto is and how much they really feel Juan Soto is going to be the next super. He already is a superstar, but that really shows you what they think about his trajectory moving forward. And so, the guy is electric. He's dynamic, and you have these young players in the game right now. You look at Julio Rodriguez, and I don't really know the details of any of these other trades to this point, other than the Astros I was just talking about a minute ago. But I will say this: you look at some of these young guys right now. And you have some great young talent in MLB. You look at Julio Rodriguez for the Seattle Mariners. Now he's infused some life back into not only that franchise, but that city. And you all know who's the first person to do that in Seattle, Ken Griffey Jr., the kid. So he's doing that type of thing in Seattle right now with the Mariners. I mean, electric, big-time personality. And you look at Tatis the same way with San Diego, if he can ever get back on the field. But all this young talent now. But Rodriguez, special talent. So, again, Ken Griffey Jr. was the last guy that infused that type of energy in Seattle. So, a lot going on. Again, a lot going on. Now, we had some technical difficulties earlier, but they got me back rolling up in here. All this technology. Like I was just saying, all this technology. I remember when all this new technology started, internet. Yeah, I go on the internet. I remember I used to go look for jobs, and I would drive all the way across town. And they'll give me a slip. I drive all the way across town to fill out an application. They'll give me a slip talking about go online. I used to be like, what? You mean I done drove 45 minutes, you give me a damn slip telling me to go online? What is this world really coming to? But I had to get up with the times, though. That's what it was. I mean, it was to the point to where I would actually, before I could even get to my car sometime, I ball the slip up and throw the slip away or throw the slip out the car. Like, well, I guess I won't be filling out an application there. Because I'm not going online. So, but these days, the computer is where it's at. I'm okay with technology. Not like I probably I'm not a wizard with technology, but I know how to do the necessities. I remember it took me a while. It took me a long time. Hey, I'm old school. It took me a long time to even start texting. Somebody would text me and I'd call them back like, what's up? But, hey, so I had to get used to texting. Had to get used to emailing and all this and that. Of course, a long time ago. Of course, I've been used to that stuff now. But I'm just talking about as far as just technology. I mean, things have just changed. I mean, I remember it used to be a time where you know, you kind of, if it's a certain job you wanted or something like that back in the day, you know, going back to my point about getting the slips and telling you to go online and all this and that, it used to be a time where being persistent in that particular job or whatever was actually, that was a good thing. Then it got to the point at the change of times where that was almost like a bad thing. It's almost like you're frowned upon if you do that. So you have to really, it's a fine line. I mean, it's almost like you'll call somebody or somebody will call somebody, whatever, and and the supervisor will be in the background. Now, I've worked around supervisors like this at certain jobs, and this is kind of how I know this stuff too. And then just kind of checking the vibe and just kind of adjusting to the times and seeing how things operate, how people operate, and how things go. It almost got to a point to where if you're too persistent, that's almost frowned upon. It's almost like the soup in the background talking about, who is that? Who is that? That's Henry Taylor? Hell no, hang up. Yeah, trying to call here being all ambitious and shit. But hey, that is what's up. I tell you this, it's hot out there. Feels good, though. Feels good. The Sports Court. You listen to The Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty. The show where we keep it 100% of the time. I tell you that. But talked about the high school football. Going to be doing that this upcoming season. Look forward to that. May even have something else up my sleeve that's not in high school football. That's on that other level. But I'll keep you posted on that. And looking forward to, hey, Toya. What's up with you? Hey, we got Toya T in the house right here. Hey, what's going on with you, Toya T? What's going on with you, Toya T? Hey, come on. Get you there for like a minute or two.
What's up, Greg?
Hey, what's up?
Sports Court.
Hey.
It is me. I am she. It's your giddy girl, Toya T.
Hey, she got a bomb show.
Yes.
Thursday nights.
8 to 9. It's The Drop with my co-host Diablo Bravo. And this week we have Lolita Monroe, First Lady of One Deep Entertainment. We will be interviewing her. Y'all stay tuned.
Lolita.
Yes.
That's what's up. Hey, I'm also going to get her talking some sports from time to time. So
yeah.
She's already agreed to that.
See, I'm a sports girl. I'm a sports woman. I'm a sports author. You know, we from the South. We from Texas.
Absolutely.
So it's all about the sports in the South.
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood. So,
it's in your blood.
Yeah.
Of TSU, formerly of TSU.
TSU Tiger.
That's what's
alumni, yes.
That's what's up. Not to be mistaken with the LSU Tigers, TSU Tigers.
Not mistaken. Cannot.
What's up, boy?
Only
What's
TSU
up, T?
Tigers,
Hey,
yes.
this DJ T Blaze in here, Tony Blaze. What's up with you?
Tony Flame, y'all.
Tony Flame, Blaze.
We got the Grade
Blaze.
A family in here, Grade A family.
Grade A family, Grade A
yes.
Media, Grade A Radio. Hey,
yes.
so I definitely check her out this upcoming Tuesday. But I'm gonna talk about Deshaun Watson here in a second.
Okay.
Real quick, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the ruling? He's only getting 6 games right now.
Well, I feel like he shouldn't be punished at all because when they took him in, they knew what he was facing.
Okay.
I'm like, why all of a sudden you get to a point where you acting dumb? You know, you knew what you were getting into when you traded him. I just feel like it's some behind the scenes stuff. Some get back,
Yeah.
I really, in my opinion, I maybe get in trouble, I don't know. But I don't feel like these are accurate accusations.
Okay.
I feel like there's some
A lot of funny business going on.
A lot of funny business. A lot of funny business because, one, he's an African-American athlete. And, I don't want to go deep into that. That's for another show. But, that's
say what you want to say on the sports court.
That's how
we keep it 100% of the time. Hey, it's okay to ruffle a few feathers every now and then. Well, hey, I've learned in this business a long time ago. If you're scared to ruffle some feathers, you're not in the right business. Or hey, what would you rather? The feathers be ruffled or yanked the hell off? So hey, that's what it is right there. Yes. Hey, so I'm going to expound on that more here coming up soon. But I just wanted to get your take on that real quick. Of course, he's traded to the Cleveland Browns right now.
Right.
Of course, the Texans they actually traded him not long ago. Mm-hmm. So I know you know all about that, and we'll talk about the Texans here coming up soon. But I definitely have you back on at some point with me and Eddie, or just me and you kicking it by ourselves if Eddie can't make it because of his ailments. And I look forward to it.
Oh, no problem.
Appreciate you.
Our family.
That's what's up.
Y'all stay tuned.
That's what's up. This Thursday,
8 to 9 to drop. If you haven't downloaded the Grade A Radio app, go download it. That's how you're going to check out the show, and then it'll be on a YouTube for live recording.
There it is.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yes, no problem.
Appreciate you. Yes. Hey, so moving on. And again, now she was talking about the Deshaun Watson situation. Talk about that here in a second right here. But what else is going on? Man, you got some music for me to jam in the background? Nah, you good. You good, man. Hey, I know you'll throw it on. Y'all got a fan right there or something? Put a little fan on me or something, man. It's heating up in here. It's like 100 degrees outside. Feels good, though. Appreciate you, my man. But, hey, a lot of football news. Of course, cool. Appreciate it, Toya T. Of course, the NFL season, camp has kicked off, of course. And, hey, camp for college football is going to be soon. I talked about the Buckeyes. Now, I don't know if I said this before we went dead in that first but the Buckeyes coming in ranked number 2. We'll see what they do. Defense has to get better. Defense has to get stellar. Defensive backs coached now by my ex-teammate and ex-road dog at Ohio State, Tim Walton. Offense is going to be legit with Travion Henderson, C.J. Stroud. And, of course, you lost 2 great receivers in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson to the first round. But, again, teams like that, they don't rebuild. They reload. You have Jackson Smith and Jigba. You saw what he did in the Rose Bowl last year. Only set a record with 14 catches, I think it was, over 300 and something yards. Hey, so Marvin Harrison Jr., you all know who his dad is, Marvin Harrison, Hall of Famer. Marvin Harrison, I might add. But he's just not living off his dad's name. He's legit. You saw what he did in the bowl game last year. He'll just be a sophomore. So the Buckeyes, the number 3 recruiting class. I'm tripping. The number 1 recruiting class in 2023 as far as commitments are concerned. We all know Bama, Georgia, last year's number 1 team, the champs last year, the Georgia Bulldogs. All these teams, they don't rebuild, they reload. Georgia's going to be right back there doing their thing. You have teams like A&M, UT is going to be in the mix. College football season is going to be fun. I mean, Ohio State, of course, Clemson is going to be right there once again. But, again, Ohio State, they have to hit the ground running against Notre Dame in that first game of the season against former Ohio State Buckeye Marcus Freeman. Congratulations to him. Played for the Buckeyes from like 2000. I actually vaguely remember him. But he's the head coach for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish right now. So we'll see early on what the Buckeyes are made of. I know we're coming in ranked, number 2 in the nation behind Bama. Again, you have Georgia. You have your usual suspects, Clemson and all these teams. But it gives them in position, speaking of the Buckeyes, it gets them in position to, if they handle their business and win out, and I want them to go undefeated. Even though you're playing Notre Dame early, and a lot of people say, well, you can afford to lose early in the season. Yeah, that may be the case. But why chance that? Why not kick everybody's ass every game? And do it like that. That way you leave no doubt on if you're deserving to be in the playoffs. And I think that's what the Buckeyes have to do. You have to hit the ground running against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to have a very viable team. They're a very viable opponent. And even though it's Marcus Freeman's first game coaching, he's been a hell of a assistant coach for years. And I just feel like his natural ability to connect to these young men, I'm sure he's going to have them in camp. I'm sure they're going to be clicking on all cylinders. I'm sure he's going to set the tone for that team and what he wants. They already know of him and know what he expects because he's coached he's coached for them for the last number of years. Actually got his start at Ohio State as a grad assistant as a coach not too long after he finished actually playing. And I think he played in the NFL for a few years too, if I'm not mistaken. But you know he's going to have that team ready to roll. I can already tell he's going to be one of these coaches. He's a defensive coach, a defensive-minded coach. So the defense is probably now, of course, you need the talent as well. But one thing about it, if you have the talent, if you have the players on the team that's willing to buy into the system, and they're actually, if you're making sure that you're putting them in the best position to succeed, which I'm banking on that he will do, I'm sure. I mean, if they're at Notre Dame, they're not dummies. So let's just start right there. You know that from the jump. They're not dummies if they're playing at Notre Dame. But at the same time, I'm sure he's going to have that team clicking on all cylinders as far as flying around to the football, making sure they do their assignments at the best of their abilities, being at the right place at the right time, but more than anything, swarming around the football. And that's what Ohio State has to do this year on the defensive side of football. You can't give up all these big chunk yardage plays. I mean, offense bailing you out. And then when it's time to turn it up on the defensive side, because you have all this talent, you do so. But you're playing from behind sometimes, or you're letting the team get in and score touchdowns that to make the game closer than it should be, and giving all Ohio State Buckeyes fans a heart attack in the process, because you're like, why are they driving this ball up and down the field on you? Why is the middle of the field wide open like that? So if they can shore some things up, if Ohio State, Ryan Day, we know he's an offensive guru, an offensive coach, and you have those horses on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, you have to replace the offensive line, has to continue to be physical. Yeah, Paris Johnson, I think is his name, coming back on the offensive line. So they should be set on the offensive side of the ball. The Buckeyes have the talent on the defensive side of the ball, but they have to get coached up right. They have to have the right scheme. You can't keep playing cocky and playing arrogant and sometimes leaving these guys who are actually not ready, even though they're talented, they're 5-star recruits. You have to put them in the best position to succeed. Sometimes play zone, sometimes play man. Just don't come out there and let them play man the entire game because you feel you have the best recruiting class the last few years, or one of the top 3 recruiting classes, and this guy was a 5-star. But damn, he's getting torched every damn play because you're not changing up things. You're not putting them in the best position to succeed. Mix it up with some zone. Then come back with man-to-man. Now, they have some talent over there for sure. The Buckeyes do. Burks, that number 29, that's a true freshman last year, he'll be an All-American this year. He'll be another first-round draft pick at the defensive back position. But, again, they have to shore up as far as taking care of things, making sure that the big plays are at a minimum and being more stout of the defensive line. As great as a coach as Larry Johnson is, as many defensive linemen as he has churned out from that program, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, I mean, I can go on and on. They have the talent. The scheme is what concerns me about Ohio State and what has concerned me on the defense side of the ball. Supposedly, allegedly, this season, it's supposed to be different. So we shall see. We definitely shall see. But looking forward to college football season. My Buckeyes better come out blazing on all cylinders. Take care of that business against Notre Dame in that first game, and then roll from there. When Michigan come to Columbus, when they go to Columbus, make them feel like they should have stayed on the plane. We all know that's a rivalry game, but I think Michigan has what's coming to them when they come to Columbus this season. I really do. So I'm looking forward to seeing how my Buckeyes look in game 1. And I like the fact that they scheduled that game early on. But don't take any chances. The Big Ten is going to be competitive. They're going to have some teams that's, of course, you know, everybody is aiming for you. Everybody is trying to knock off the Buckeyes in the Big Ten. So you have to be aware of that. And every game, play like it's the last game of the season or you're playing for a national championship that particular game. And I think Ryan Day, he does a good job. I think he does a good job of getting those guys ready to play and having them locked in week in and week out. Now, of course, against Oregon last season, Oregon just took it to Ohio State. I think they kind of surprised Ohio State. that they were that physical. And that's a testament to the coaching at Oregon right now, because they're not the same Oregon that you trampled in the national championship game back when Zeke was there. So I think they were kind of looking at it like, okay, this is Oregon, finesse team coming from the Pac-12 or whatever, blah, blah, blah. They're playing without their best player right now on the defensive side, Thibodeau. And so Oregon just caught them off guard, and Oregon just beat them on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage. And that's where it starts, in the trenches. So we shall see what happens, how my Buckeyes look in the trenches on both sides of the ball. And I'm looking forward to that. Kyler Murray, of course, actually, he signed this contract. Kyler Murray signed this contract, and that contract, where's my Kyler Murray stuff at? Stay with me right there. I mean, I know what I want to say, but I just want to, in case I want to refer back to something. You know what? You don't have to get used to doing that more. Sometimes I have notes in front of me. A lot of times I could jot down some stuff or do some prep work and kind of remember what I want to say, or kind of, it just comes to me sometimes. But it's been a lot of times where I've been in here and I've jotted down some points or whatever, or maybe some certain stats or something like that I can refer back to. I jot them down myself. I don't have a research department. I don't have producers in my ear. But I jotted them down. I would have some things that's in my notes that I don't even look down at and refer to. And I'm like, okay, I can do that more often. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. And but Kyler Murray, speaking of Kyler Murray, he's out with COVID at least for the next 5 days. As I said, these NFL teams are starting camp right now. Texans in camp, Cowboys, all these NFL teams. I mentioned something about them here coming up soon as well. But Kyler Murray, of course, he's actually signed that deal. Deshaun Watson, who I'll talk about here in a second, you hear Toya T give her opinion on it, and that's her opinion on that. So got to roll with that with her, and that's her opinion on that. And I'll you've heard me talk about the Deshaun Watson situation ad nauseum. Me and Eddie, when me and Brett, me and BT were in here, we've talked about Deshaun Watson, for a long time. So, but Kyler Murray signed that deal, $230 million. Now, hey, they put a provision in his contract initially that required him to study for at least 4 hours a week. And you know what? What else were the Arizona Cardinals going to do? Now, we know the alleged strife that they may have had in the offseason at one point, where he scrubbed his account. He scrubbed all his social media accounts with Arizona and all this and that. And we know about the things that have been said, like even dating back to last season, about how he's immature and things of that sort. And he's come back and said some things about them in the media. But for the most part, he hasn't said anything too derogatory against Arizona. But he scrubbed their account. And Arizona, what other options did they really have for signing Kyler Murray? You drafted the guy number one after you had traded Josh Rosen. You had traded Josh Rosen, who's the number 10 pick in 2018. So what leverage did Arizona really have to stand on, in the sense that you don't really have nobody else right now that you could replace him with? Again, you traded Josh Rosen, and what you traded him for never really panned out. Who was the 10th pick in the draft in 2018, like I just stated. You traded him. You drafted Kyler Murray number 1 overall. Then you signed a guy in Cliff Kingsbury that has an offense tailor-made for his skill set. So we know Kyler Murray. What are his numbers? Now, of course, we know that he's been to 2 Pro Bowls, 2-time Pro Bowler, and he was Offensive Rookie of the Year. You have a coach, again, that has an offense that fits his style, a dual-threat quarterback that can run, that can pass, make things happen. I've been a Kyler Murray fan before he even entered the draft. I thought he was going to be special. Still think he's going to be special. Of course, he has to do better. Now, of course, everyone can get better. But I think Kyler Murray, for what Arizona likes to do, I mean, it was a no-brainer. But what Arizona did, they let it play out so long to where they saw Aaron Rodgers sign a major deal, $50 million a year. They saw Deshaun Watson get $230 million guaranteed, $46 million a year. So that did not help them in the negotiations for Kyler Murray, while they let things drag out and let, some other players sign and things of that sort. That did not help them at all. And again, he's tailor-made for what they do. So now this provision about him not studying, I think, now it's mere speculation on my part, but I like to look at things from all angles. And I think that, and I could be wrong in this regard, but I think that was done intentionally, knowing that provision, knowing that I think Arizona was saying, okay, let's put this provision in there, because even though Kyler Murray has come out and stated the very next day after the report came out that he was actually going to have that provision, or that he had that clause in his contract, he came out that very next day and said, hey, whoever said he was flattered. Said he was flattered that anyone could think he could do that at that size, at 5'9", do what he did in high school, never losing a game in high school, winning a Heisman Trophy in college. So he popped his collar in that regard. But at the same time, he stated that it definitely wasn't appreciated, the backlash that he was getting. And I think Arizona, when they put that provision in there, it was probably a slight get back at him for whatever trouble that he may have caused, or whatever in the media or whatever. And we all know Kyler Murray is a great character guy from what we understand, even though he's probably, according to some reports, has some attitude issues or maybe could grow up in some regards and things of that sort. But that's their way of saying, Arizona, like, okay, we're going to put this provision in this contract, and if it hits the fan, and we're going to make it public, because no matter what happens, whether he's against it or whether he says nothing about it, the cat's out the bag. And if we're going to give him all of this money, we want him to know that we want him to study more. Now, he said, who you think can do all that? Kyler Murray said, who do you think can do all this and have this much success leading up to this point, even though he acknowledges and he understands that he can get better as a player, and he's only going to get better as a player. Losing DeAndre Hopkins last year didn't help as far as winning at the end of the season, even though they got off to that hot start. He has to get better as the season wanes on, and I think he will once he has his full complement of players and his full complement of talent. But I think that was Arizona. Saying, hey, we want you to study even more. We're going to give you all this money, and yeah, deservedly so. We're not doing anything that we don't want to do. But and then I think they said, okay, if once we make it public some kind of way, once we get it out there to the media some kind of way, without letting anyone know that we're the ones who got it out there to the media, we'll see how he reacts. But nevertheless, no matter how he reacts, he knows that this is what we expect from him. This is what we want from him. And what happened was Kyler Murray didn't take so kindly to it. And so Arizona, after putting a provision and that clause in his contract, they went back and they took it out. But I think that was a plan. I think they had already had that plan that, okay, we'll see the backlash, we'll see how he acts, and then we'll take it out. But the thing about it is, now it's already been said that, and the narrative was that he's not a big studier. Even though, yeah, they probably seen him watching film at certain times, of course, because all players at some point have to watch film, whether or not it's with the coaches or whatever. You're going to have to watch film. And Kyler Murray, maybe when he's saying, okay, yeah, I watch film, maybe they're saying to themselves, yeah, right, it's only when the coach really doing a team meeting, but are you watching film on your own? This is what we need you to do to take that next step and that leap in making our franchise better. So I think once things hit the fan in that regard, they'll be like, okay, we'll retract it, we'll take it out, but hey, you know what we expect from you. You know what we want from you. And speaking of clauses, I guess later I can bring up the Zion Williamson. He had the clause about weight that he didn't take too kindly to as well. So that's only going to motivate him as well in that regard. But, hey, Kyler Murray. So Arizona, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Arizona moving forward. Now, Deshaun Watson, to be honest with you, it is kind of surprising to me that he only got 6 games. He rejected a 12-game suspension, $10 million fine. Now, you've heard us talk about Deshaun Watson and his legal matters for a long time. I mean, it got to the point where I just got tired of bringing up Deshaun Watson. Really, to be honest with you, didn't want to have to bring it up today, but it's in the media, and I don't run from any topics. So it's in the media right now. And so a 6-game suspension where Judge Sue L. Robinson, she's the one who dished out that 6-game suspension. And we all know what he's alleged of doing. He's alleged of sexually assaulting dozens and dozens, literally, allegedly, dozens and dozens of women in massage sessions. And even though definitely the way he was seeking out these massage sessions were definitely strange, and he's claimed his innocence even though he settled with 23 of the 24. I've always said from day one, especially when he was proclaiming his innocence. Now, I've always said from day one that where's the evidence? Where is the evidence other than he said, she said? And I said, and that's why you've always heard me talk about the camera. I know people probably got tired of me talking about, well, where's the video? Where's the video? I mean, and see, I'm not saying that did not play in Judge Sue L. Robinson's decision, who the NFL and the NFLPA hired to serve. They jointly appointed her to be a neutral arbitrator. But, and then, real quick, you look at Deshaun Watson's statement and his team before the decision was handed down. A nice little shrewd move. They actually endeared themselves. And I'm sure throughout the process of dealing with Judge Sue Robinson, who's a former federal judge, I'm sure in the process of dealing with her throughout the trial, where they only had 4 of these women go in and present their case, and I'm sure in the process they were able to kind of get the vibe that she was probably leaning their direction. And I think it did them, unlike the NFL that did not put out a statement. Now, as far as the 6-game suspension, both parties, the NFLPA and the NFL, they have 3 days. They have 3 days to appeal the decision. Of course, Deshaun Watson and this legal team are not going to appeal. They've already said so. So in the statement before the appeal was handed down, before the suspension was handed down, in the statement, they did a shrewd move by putting out a statement saying that they're willing to accept whatever punishment comes their way, yada, yada, yada. I don't have the statement here in front of me exactly, but that was a nice, shrewd move to endear yourself to the judge in that regard. And they also stated that they thought the NFL should do the same thing. Now, Judge Sue Robinson, she's a federal judge. Now, think about this. And I'm not saying now she's come out and said, now, I think she's probably kind of playing on both sides of the fence right here. Of course, she's not going to acknowledge that. Of course, I have much respect for what she's done as a judge. And being a federal judge, think about it. A federal case, you know the conviction rate on a federal case, and Deshaun Watson was not convicted. He was not convicted criminally, not facing any jail time or anything like that. So I'm sure that kind of played on her psyche as well. But, of course, she heard the evidence herself, and she's a federal judge. You know the success rate in convictions in federal cases, what is it, like 95%, 98%? So for her to rule, and it's a lot of uproar, And, again, I've stated time and time and time again, if Deshaun Watson is guilty of these charges, and he may be guilty of some, and some is way more than too many, and I think that's why he's never just publicly come out and said, okay, well, yeah, I did this and did that. even though he actually settled, I've heard people say, well, maybe he should have come out and at least admitted, since he was. Why is he going to do that? I mean, what's he going to do that for again? There's no visual evidence of it. I mean, you have women talking about that one woman alleged that he actually ejaculated on her. So if you're a judge in that situation, and I know this is going to sound sick and all this and that, but if you're that hurt, and I don't know this is how she was thinking in the process, if that's the case and that happens, and you know that you're probably, okay, I'm going to take this and try to get him charged criminally for this, or I'm going to take this and get this reported, I mean, where's the evidence of the semen? I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, and so, again, if they were harmed in any kind of way, emotionally or physically, Deshaun Watson should be reprimanded for it. And I guess 6 games is what he's reprimanded right now. But we all know in a lot of cases, and I think Deshaun Watson is like, he's probably like, well, I can't admit to nothing, because if I'm going to admit to that, to those 2, or to these 3, or to these 4, what's to say that the judge won't rule and just say, okay, well, you probably did it in all those cases. I think what actually happened was that some of those cases are probably true. Of course, you know, he went in there trying to holler and this and that, and maybe went too far in some regards. But I think a lot of, if not most of those cases, are probably not true. So he's probably like, why am I going to admit to something that, so you all can just let it snowball and make like, okay, every single case was like this. You know, so hey, but Judge Robinson, she actually, I think she may be playing on both sides of the fence, because she actually stated that, yes, he definitely did not adhere to the personal conduct policy of the NFL. But like she's saying, okay, what's the precedent for it? I mean, they put her in charge to do these things, to make these decisions, but she can't recall a situation to where she stated that 6 games is the most that anybody has gotten in a sexual assault case. So she's saying, where's the precedent? Don't just throw me into the fire right now and expect me, now that you've made me the mediator or the arbitrator, don't expect me to come in and clean up you all's mess that you all have allowed since the last CBA. So don't expect me to come in and clean up that mess right now. And especially, again, there's only 4 women that actually testified. Again, and who's to say, now, she come out and stated that he was wrong. He did this, he did that, he didn't adhere to this. Yes, it was sexual assault, but it wasn't in a physical form. So, yada, 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 yada. She gave a bunch of points about why that whatever he's accused of is true. Yes, he sexually assaulted. He assaulted these women. Yes, he did this. Yes, he did that. But you all didn't have the guidelines set up for me to give him a stiffer penalty than I gave him. Yeah, that sounds, okay. That sounds fine and dandy and all this and that. But I'm going to say this, too, at the same time. And I'm not her, again. She was a former federal judge. So everything that she's prosecuted, she's pretty much, okay, guilty. If you get charged by the feds, you pretty much might as well pack your bags. I mean, it's done data. I mean, again, if the feds come after you, hey, it's a done deal. So I'll say this, but I think she's probably kind of playing on both sides of the fence in the sense that she wants to placate, and this is mere speculation on my part. She wants to placate you know what? I want to see what that is. What's up, Big D? Man, I'm sitting there doing the show, man. I'm about to put you on the radio right now. This is my ex-teammate from Ohio State. What's up, man? What you want to say? What's up, man? Hey, man, let me call you back, bro. All right, yeah. Yeah. That's my ex-roommate from Ohio State right there. Boy. Hey, but I think she wants to placate. I think she wants to placate to the NFL and the public outcry that she knew she was going to receive from handing down this lenient suspension by saying that she thinks he did all this and did all that. But hey, y'all had the precedent set already. I mean, if you look at Ray Rice, after he got suspended for 2 games, it wasn't until after the video surfaced that the NFL, of course, they railroaded him to then, okay, you can't come back into the NFL, blah, 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 blah. But the NFL really much, other than that, they really hadn't done anything as far as these cases to really put her in a position where she felt that she could have ruled in a different manner. But again, I think she's saying all this because she knows Deshaun has already faced this criticism. So she's not really too concerned. I think she's also taking into account on how he was viewed by the media beforehand, before all this occurred, and he was a model citizen. But I think she's saying, okay, I've given him 6 games, and that's a win. He's gotten $230 million guaranteed, which all these women that have been paid off, essentially, and this is another reason why he probably decided to settle. Of course, the main reason is he wanted to move on, get it all behind him, because I thought he shouldn't have settled. If he's claiming his innocence, I thought he shouldn't have settled, but I'm not him, and he felt that it was in his best interest. Of course, his legal team did as well to settle, because to get it all behind him. And essentially, the Cleveland Browns are paying for the settlements. I mean, if you think about it, with the contract that they gave him. But I think she's saying, okay, I'm going to dog him in the media and say that I think he's this bad guy, and as far as regarding what he's alleged of doing. But at the same time, I want to placate. I want to say all this. I want to help him, and I also want to placate to the media outcry. And so she's saying all these things about, yes, he did this. Yes, I think he did that. Yes, I think he sexually assaulted these women, but it wasn't in a physical form. Yes, he definitely did not adhere to the NFL's and policy. And yes, he actually made the NFL look bad. All this, it sounds cute and all this and that. It sounds like she's really being sincere in what she's saying. But I like to peel back the layers sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I think that could also be her way of, again, just placating to both sides, but also her ruling on a 6-game suspension. That could be her way. She stated that it wasn't sufficient evidence. Now, she said that, and then she gave all these reasons why she thought he was guilty of all these charges. But if you notice, before that, she actually said not enough evidence. And that's why I always went back to the video. And you can say, well, why would there be a video in there in a place of privacy? I'm just saying. You don't even have to have the sound on. But out of all these cases, no video. So I'm sure she listened to the testimony of these women. And I'm sure if she really felt that these women if she sincerely felt that these women were harmed, at least the 4 that she had in there, I don't think, now that's the NFL's fault for not getting more in there, but the judge was like, she's going by what they brought in there to her. And I don't know if they made compelling cases. I don't know if their cases were compelling enough to feel like she had to do something different than what she did. But I think she's saying, all this being said, she could just be saying, I don't believe y'all. I don't believe y'all. I think it's a money grab, more so than anything. And I'm not going to roll with y'all on this. And if you were harmed, I feel for you. So, I think she's playing both sides of it. If you were harmed, I feel for you. Yes, he's guilty, but hey, it's not enough evidence. But that's her way of saying that. That's her way of saying, I don't believe it. I don't believe that it happened in its totality. I'm not saying she doesn't feel like I feel that, okay, you had some isolated incidents where he probably went too far in the way he was coming on to these women, But again, she's a fair judge. I mean, she's heard it all. She knows the game inside and out. So I think she also could be saying, and hey, again, I don't mind ruffling feathers. Again, whether you want them ruffled or yanked the hell off. So, and I'm going to say this, and this is mere speculation on my part. To the women, she could be saying, without actually saying, again, speculation on my part, that's what y'all get for doing business with this black guy. That's what y'all get. And you got your money, now going on somewhere. So, and as far as the appeal, and that's just speculation on my part. I'm not saying, hey, she probably doesn't have a racist bone in her body, but you don't have to be racist sometimes to put people in their place and to really let them know how you really feel without stating the fact or without revealing the fact that you're a racist. I'll just say it like that. But I'll say this. I mean, she went by what was handed to her by the NFL and the guidelines. And yeah, some people, okay, they're saying, well, you look at Calvin Ridley. Look at Calvin Ridley. And it's backwards. I mean, I agree. I thought it was a light suspension, and I was surprised because I thought that it would probably be a year regarding the fact, or because it was involving women. I knew that he would get suspended, and I heard weeks ago that it may be only 6 to 8 games, but I had to see it to believe it. But the precedent has been said. You talk about Calvin Ridley, and I know it's crazy that he gets suspended for a year for betting on games that it was figured out and found out that he did not purposely or intentionally or at all did he bet on his actual team winning or losing. So it had no impact or no outcome on the game itself and games that he participated in. So he gets a year. So I know people are like, well, violence against women. But hey, you can as well they should be. And the NFL needs to do something about that. Now, maybe this decision, I don't know, as of right now doing this show, the NFL has not appealed the ruling. And they probably won't. I mean, if you think about Roger Goodell, think about it. He maybe wants to give Judge Sue L. Robinson her respect. And since they appointed her the arbitrator in the situation, roll with what she's come up with. Roll with that decision and then just implement a certain policy or implement certain rules and guidelines or do what you have to do from here on out. See, Roger Goodell is put in a certain situation because he relinquished that role jointly. It was agreed upon by the NFLPA and the NFL because he had overseen so many cases, high-profile cases. He had overseen so many of them. And he had got so much kickback and vitriol and resentment and hatred because of the penalties that he was handing down. A lot of times it was against black players. And most of the time it was against black players. And he got so much resentment because he was doing his job and he was doing what he was doing. He was doing what he felt was best to protect the NFL shield. So they's like, okay, I step back. Instead of being the judge, jury, and executioner, I step back and I'll let another arbitrator, mediator, come in, do her thing. Now they have to roll with it. That's what they decided upon. So I don't think it's a chance they may appeal where he can flex his power. But again, then you will be undermining the decision that you all just made not long ago when you all agreed that you would have an arbitrator. So which one is it going to be? Are you going to let somebody else make the decisions and roll with that? Or are you going to always be the judge, jury, and executioner? And that's why you originally, in some respects, got away from that in the first place because you didn't like the vitriol that you were getting. And that's what it is. So you never know what's going to happen as far as the appeal is concerned. So they may just have to roll with it. And you think about it, but they definitely have to do something about this because you're going to have a lot of women and a lot of women's groups who's probably, because that's where it hurts them. It hurts them in the pocket. And when they made that last agreement, them along with the NFLPA, they both agreed that they would not, in any future negotiations, and this going back to the appeal, the possible appeal, they agreed that they were not going to let, no matter what happens, they were not going to let public opinion sway their decision in any kind of way. So what, you're going to go back on that too? You're going to go back on that now too? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that regard. If you look at they because you're going to have, because you do not want to affect the brand, which has already been done. But you all know how it goes. If you can play, now you have Deshaun Watson, who's a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. You want this to go away as quickly as possible now. And in your heart of hearts, you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to inject some real life into this. They'll get over it. They'll get over it in the grand scheme of things, as long as we have this money rolling in. The only way you're ever going to affect someone is if you affect their pocketbooks. And if they so once these women, the outcry that you're getting from these women, if it affects them in the pockets, I'm sure they'll make some change. If you look at Joe Mixon, who, when you see Joe Mixon play now, of course, again, the Ray Rice incident, once it became visual, where the video was put out there, that's when they really jumped on it and was like, okay. I mean, I can go back to Ezekiel Elliott, who got, 6 games, and that was from being physical with the woman, allegedly, who got 6 games. And so they put her in here to do her thing, and that's what she decided. But you look at Joe Mixon, since he's been into the league, they've swept that incident with him when he was in college under the rug. When he hit that lady in that restaurant, and of course the way they're probably looking at it like, okay, it didn't happen on their watch. But it's never been brought up because he's a tremendous talent. You watch Joe Mixon play, you never hear any broadcasters or no one talk about that incident. Now, he was retaliating. I think the woman, if I remember correctly, and I apologize if I'm wrong, he was retaliating on the woman hitting him. But in no way, shape, or form should he have done what he did when he punched her like she was a dude. But made it to the NFL, was an integral part of a team last year that made it to the Super Bowl. You know Cincinnati's going to be right back in the mix again. You know they're going to be right back in the mix. And Joe Mixon is a viable part of that. And you never hear anything about that incident. Anything, because they don't want that black eye on the NFL. So they're going to do anything possible to let this Deshaun Watson fiasco and situation run its course and hopefully just subside. And what did I say weeks ago when we were in here, when I talked about Deshaun Watson? And I said, when Eddie asked me, well, what about the teammates? And I said, once he gets to camp, it's going to be about playing football, because all these guys, they're getting paid to do a job. They're professionals. And once they're on your team or you're on their team, you're one of them. And from all reports coming out of Cleveland's camp, that's exactly what's been the case. We know Deshaun Watson. We know he's not a bad guy. As far as dealing with his teammates, we know, again, think about how he was perceived before this incident. So you know his teammates love him. Going all the way back to college, won a national championship. A guy that has been noted as a great leader on and off the field, does a lot in the community as well. So once he got to Cleveland, now it's about, damn, we got a top 3 quarterback, definitely a top 5 quarterback who's hungry. We have him on our team now with all this talent that we have. So I didn't feel that there was going to be any kind of resentment and strife. Now, you never know the inner workings of what's really going on with everyone in the building. But from all accounts, what I've been hearing, he's endeared himself to everyone there, and they all love him. And they all know that he can help them win games, and ultimately they know that he can help them achieve their ultimate goal. So they're all on one accord right now in Cleveland. So it's not about, well, we're going to see how his teammates react to him. And I'm going to tell you like this, like I said before, that's going to be a taboo subject. That's going to be a taboo subject. Even if you're somebody that's in this inner circle in a situation like that, unless he brings it up and wants to talk about it, you're not going to be too intrusive in that regard. I mean, that's a situation that's played out in the media already through and through. So people have already heard what they're going to hear about it. They've already formulated their opinions about it. No matter what he tells them, they've already formulated their opinions. So what's the use of bringing it up? I mean, of course they're going to shoot the breeze and have fun and do this and that, but that particular subject, I think, will probably be off limits unless he decides to talk about it. they're in the business of winning football games. So he's going to miss the first 6 games of the season, which bodes well for Cleveland. Now, I don't have their schedule right here in front of me, but if they can just hold down the fort until he gets there, I mean, hey, Cleveland's chances are just as good as anyone with that defense and Myles Garrett. And now you have Amari Cooper over there, who I'm sure is going to be a main target. It's going to be a main target for Deshaun Watson. It's all about playing ball now. So Deshaun Watson, he knows what's being said about him as far as these women are concerned. He knows he paid them off. He knows he has $230 million in the bank, and he knows that it is what it is. I'm about to get paid. He knows at some point it's probably going to subside. It all hinges on what he does on the football field. So he's in a good place right now with some great spirits, and a lot of people don't like to see him in great spirits as well. For one, $230 million will make you have great spirits. I don't give a damn what's going on. You have $230 million guaranteed. That's going to, and then as time wanes and time subsides, that heals everything. So he's in a great place right now, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. That's definitely opposed to the decision that the judge made. And, hey, it is what it is. And to the women who allegedly got abused by him, I wish them well. But life goes on, and that's where we are. And then and speaking of Amari Cooper and his receivers, man, you think about these wide receivers takes me to the fact that receivers are just getting paid right now. Deebo Samuel just signed his deal with the 49ers. What did I say a while back? Hey, I don't forget nothing. What did I say on yada, yada, yada at 6:30? But what did I say? I said they're probably going to wait till camp starts. The same thing they did with George Kittle. But I knew they were not going to let Deebo Samuel go anywhere. With the high demand that these receivers have these days, in today's game, with everything being about being creative, about spreading out the defense, the passing game is very formidable these days. It's very important these days. These receivers are going to get paid. Deebo just got paid. San Francisco is not crazy. They're going to make Trey Lance their quarterback, and I think that's going to be a very good connection. And, of course, they can use him in a myriad of ways to where he's running the ball. He's doing a lot of different things to help bolster that offensive attack. So that's not surprising at all. Yeah, I think Odell Beckham just re-signed with the Rams. I like that for Odell. I think the Rams are bringing him back. I like that for Odell, for them to give him another chance, even though they made a couple of more acquisitions. I like because that's showing their appreciation for Odell and what he was able to do and helping them get to a Super Bowl victory. And if he wouldn't have got hurt in that game, he probably would have won the MVP in that game. So, of course, his teammate Cooper Rush and you have Julio Jones now with Brady. But these receivers are in such high demand. They're not commanding nothing under $20 million right now. Nothing under $20 million. And that used to be almost unheard of for a wide receiver. But that's where we are. That's where we are in today's game again, because the wide receiver position is so important. It's important again, and it's so. Hey, you have to put points on the board. As great as these defenses are, these teams drafting these big time defensive ends, rushing the quarterback. Hey, you have to be able to pass the ball. You have to have a quarterback that can maneuver in the pocket more times than not and find those receivers, but they're commanding nothing less than $20 million right now. And so, hey, Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, again, Matthew Stafford, Odell Beckham, Cooper Rush. I can go on Deebo. Now it's going to be Trey Lance. So these connections. Now, a quarterback that's not mobile, but is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time, as Ali would say. Tom Brady, big time loss to that center of theirs. Robert Hainsey, that's a major loss. That is a no, not Robert. Robert Hainsey is the one that's going to take over, second-year player, and I'm sure he'll be A-OK. But will he be Ryan Jensen, the guy who blew out his knee in camp when camp first started, who plays center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? We all know Tom Brady, the winner of 7 Super Bowls, the best quarterback ever, came out of retirement. Now he's going to do his thing again with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we all know the one thing, he's not mobile. The one thing that's always hindered him, if you could say he's been hindered by something, I mean, it's hard to say that the greatest quarterback of all time with 7 Super Bowls has been hindered. But the thing that he doesn't like most, the thing that Tom Brady doesn't like most on the football field is that pressure up the middle. And when you do not have your center, that's where that pressure is coming from, up the middle. So, but one thing about it, the next man up mentality, Robert Hainsey, and this is what I've always said about people that block for Tom Brady. And when you block for certain quarterbacks, Roger Staubach, or certain quarterbacks that you have that much respect for as an offensive lineman, some kind of way just naturally, it just enhances your game. It puts you on point even that much more. It makes you want to really, really be the guy that does not let that quarterback down. So those type of quarterbacks, those type of players, they just enhance the play of players around them. And I think that's what Tom Brady's going to do with this center. Now, of course, it's easier said than done. He has to get out there on the field and do that. So we'll see what happens. But anything, Tom Brady, you know he's going to have those guys honed in on a major level. And before they insert this guy, or right when they inserted this guy, they're probably like, hey, you better keep Tom Brady off his ass. You better keep Tom Brady off his ass. Simple as that. So, and no, they didn't have to tell him that. Tom told him that. Keep out my fucking ass, all right? But that sounds like something Tom would say. If something happened in practice where that happened, trust me, it won't happen again, because Tom will go get right in his face. But they signed Julio Jones. I don't know. Speaking of receivers, now I'm saying talking about today's Julio Jones. I don't know exactly what he still has left in the tank. Even if he's healthy, I don't know. What is he, 33, 34? If he's in great shape, of course he's probably lost a step right now. And of course, if Julio Jones is anywhere near the Julio Jones that he once was, if he's anywhere near that, I'll tell you like this. That's a great asset for Tampa Bay. Of course, Tampa has lost some receivers. Of course, they still have Mike Evans. But Tom Brady, Tom Brady is going to make him better. I'm talking about the way, of course, they don't have Gronk anymore. We'll see what happens with that moving forward if Gronk decides to come back at some point in the season. But Julio Jones gives them another target. He gives them a big target. He could probably do some things that maybe Gronk did. Not as physical as Gronk. We all know that. And he's an outside receiver. But maybe you can play him in the slot some, or you can play him at that wide position or at that tight end position where he's kind of flexed out some, and then he could do some things. He can't do the things he once did where he stretched the field and really took the top off of a defense. But maybe you can work him underneath and do some things with him and get his juices going like that to where you get him the ball early and often, then you instill that confidence in him that, hey, you know what? I can't still be the Julio that I once was. And once he sees the rock a few times and he gets the ball and he's running after the catch and doing a few things, realize he's playing in Tampa, he's playing with Tom Brady, has a chance to win a chip. I mean, that's going to enhance his play because now he feels he has a legitimate shot. We know he was in Atlanta for a while and made it to the Super Bowl. Now he feels he has another chance to acquire a Super Bowl. So these wide receivers are definitely in high demand. I think Kansas City, I think the Chiefs, I think they're going to be just as explosive. Even though without Tyreek Hill, I think the Chiefs are going to be just as explosive as before when you work in some of these other receivers that they have now, mainly because of the scheme and mainly because now with Scantling and you get what's your guy name from Pittsburgh, Juju Smith-Schuster. You can work him underneath. I like his attitude. I like his swag on the football field. So now Patrick Mahomes, where you just can't key in, even though it didn't matter, you could key in on Tyreek Hill. He can still blow past you. Now, you're definitely going to miss his speed, but they still have some speed. Scantling can run. So as long as they still take those shots downfield and show teams that, hey, we're still going to come at you, and we're going to come at you in a major way, and now we even have more options in all facets of the field that I can throw the ball to. So I think Kansas City is going to be right there doing the same thing as well. And speaking of the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill, now what is this that I saw before I was leaving about the NFL announced that the Miami Dolphins will forfeit their 2023 first-round draft pick and 2024 third-round draft pick, while owner Steve Ross is fined $1.5 million, drop in the bucket. Here you go. And that goes back to what a lot of these people are saying about and the situation, the discrepancy with how these suspensions are handed out and what the league is trying to portray or things of that matter. And he got suspended until October 17th. Essentially, he got a 6-game suspension too. That's basically what it boils down to. He also got 6 games. So, okay, you talk about that we don't do anything to the owners. Okay, we're going to give him 6 games too. But you don't put that in writing in 6 games. You say he's suspended to October 17th. Why can't you give him a full year suspension? Why can't you do that? Now, all this stems from tampering charges, speaking of the aforementioned Tom Brady, and, of course, with Sean Payton. And that's what it is. So they're doing things they're not supposed to do. And also the tanking allegations made by Brian Flores. Brian Flores, you know, he was ousted by Miami, and still don't understand that one, but things happen. And he was ousted. Now he's with the Steelers as an assistant coach. But, of course, he has a lawsuit pending against the NFL or the Dolphins or against the – yeah. I mean, he has a lawsuit pending. He has a lawsuit pending against the NFL in regards to his untimely release by the Miami Dolphins. Now, right after – now, he stated that during his tenure in Miami that he sent a letter to the appropriate party stating the fact that the Dolphins were trying to persuade him to tank games. The owner, Stephen Ross, was trying to persuade him to tank games. Now, this is also one of the reasons that they got that penalty, because the tampering and allegedly tanking games. Now, even though it's the NFL, here we go again, playing on both sides of the fence right here. Now they're saying, yeah, you have Stephen Ross, who's pretty much not happy. Of course, he's not happy that they're losing the first round pick, but he's trying to save face by saying that, hey, well, like I said, the things that Brian Flores are talking about were not true. Now you have the NFL saying that, okay, yes, we found that to be true, that maybe he was saying some things or doing some things that pretty much that he wanted his team to tank games, but he was not going to pay Brian Flores. He did not offer any money in the situation. Brian Flores stated, no, that's not the case. So there it is again. Now, in Brian Flores' eyes, he's looking at it like, okay, yeah, you went out and said that, okay, that he acknowledged or that you found findings that he wanted to tank. But at the same time, you did not help my case. When I said that he offered me money, now you're coming out saying that, no, we couldn't find anything to where money was offered. That's game. That's game right there. So when his legal situation comes up, it's not anything on record saying that they knew anything about that he was getting paid for that. So at the same time, you're building him up and you're tearing him down at the same time. So that's the NFL doing that right there. And hold on, let me read Stephen Ross's comments right quick, if I have them right here. Stephen Ross, the owner, hold on, bear with me right here. If I don't find it. Well, pretty much essentially what he was saying, that he doesn't agree with the allegations and yada, yada, yada. But if you notice, he started out his comments, hey, even though the allegations were about Tom Brady and Sean Payton and the tampering charge as well, he made it a fact in that note to try to control the narrative by making sure the first sentence, the first thing everybody saw, the first thing everybody sees when they read, the first thing they hear is the fact that I didn't offer any money to him for tanking games. So he acted like he felt good about that he wasn't found guilty in that regard. So that's as well trying to save face and, trying to control the narrative by saying, hey, I was not found guilty as far as the Brian Flores situation, and anything that he said, he made sure he stated that first. Let's state that first so I can get that out there, control that narrative that I never tried to. I don't really care too much about the 1.5 and the 6-game suspension about tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton, because look, at the end of the day, people are just going to look at that and they're going to say, hey, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And that's only me trying to get better. But make sure you know that what Brian Flores said is not true. So, hey, it's all over the place with the Dolphins right now. The Cowboys. But before I say something about the Cowboys, the Houston Texans are in camp right now. And I want to actually say how much I really appreciate and my heartfelt feelings and sympathies for what John Mechie III is going through. The Texans' second-round draft pick was diagnosed with leukemia. And I've seen him in a couple of interviews. And let's see if that actually – he's going to miss the entire season. He said as much. But what a blow right there. I mean, we never like to hear the word cancer. But for that young man at the tender age of 22 years old, to achieve his dream like he did and getting drafted, then to be diagnosed with cancer. I mean, the strength of that young man right now, I just admire that. I admire that because his spirits have been very high. He's very optimistic about the outlook and the outcome. He's in great care. In Houston right here, you have great care from the doctors. I mean, as far as cancer treatment, it gets no better than MD Anderson. So he's in great hands, great care, and I like what Lovie Smith did. Now we'll see if that helps bolster Lovie Smith in his second year in the Texan squad. Now they still need some talent, and I like Davis Mills. Now if he falters this year and the Texans are bad, of course, C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, top pick in the draft, or Bryce Young from Alabama. But John Mechie III, what Lovie Smith did to start the season in his first meeting, usually he addresses the team in the first meeting when they report to camp. This time he let John Mechie III do it. And he let him tell them and explain to them what is going on with him so they can hear from him. So that will not, and I thought that was a good move by him. There's not any distractions. There's not any, I wonder this and I wonder that. Of course, he assured it with Mechie before that happened. Of course, he just didn't call John Mechie up there like, hey, come, nah. Of course, I'm sure he got his approval. He got the approval of John Mechie to hold that initial meeting, the first meeting of camp, and to voice his thoughts and things that he's going through with his teammates. And to let his teammates know that he's going to be okay. He's behind them. Don't worry about him. Go out and play. And I think what it's going to do and what Love is hoping it does is it brings that team together. It helps build that team chemistry even more so, build that team morale even more so. And now they have somebody to play for. They have somebody to fight for. And, hey, they're all in this together. And I think the Texans are going to go out there playing for John Mechie. Again, they don't have the talent, but they've made some draft picks that's going to hit the ground running, I think, and Stingley Jr. And also you have some players. You have some players that Stingley Jr. is going to play right off the bat at cornerback. right off the bat. So then the free safety, then the free safety. I mean, I saw his dad at work the other day. He says he's going to definitely get his son on, the second-round draft pick for the Texans. He's going to get his son on out of Baylor. He's going to get his son on in due time. They're trying to keep him humble right now. Of course, they're in camp. But he's like, gee, man, you know I'm going to get him on the show. So definitely look forward to that at some point during the season. I was hoping before the season, but, I think it'll be better. I think things happen when it's meant to happen. I think it'll be better for that to happen during the season. He say they're trying to, him and his mom, of course, and family, they're trying to keep him humble right now, to let him concentrate on working out, doing the things he needs to do. But he's like, man, I know y'all straight legit over there, man. I'm definitely going to have him on and look forward to that. So the Texans, maybe that brings them closer together, and we shall see what happens. And they have some other draft picks as well. I'll let Eddie, the Texans insider, and BT name all the draft picks. But, hey, we'll see what happens with them. But much, much respect, and I wish John Metchie III nothing but the best in his recovery from cancer. And we'll see what the Texans do. The Cowboys, who knows? That's my squad. But, of course, you never know what to expect. I mean, yeah, they can win all during the season, but what's going to happen in the playoffs? Now you have, speaking of wide receivers, now you have James Washington out with a fractured foot, who they got over from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now he's out with a fractured foot, so he's out for 6 to 10 weeks. He was brought there to help make up for the departure of Amari Cooper. So they're already starting out bad right there. We'll see if Mike McCarthy can get it rolling. We'll see what Zeke does. So we'll see what Dak does. So we'll see about the Cowboys and what they're able to do as well. But I'll say this. They better win at least 1 or 2 playoff games this year. Of course, I want them to go to the Super Bowl. Of course, I want them to go to the Super Bowl. But the Cowboys, they better come with it this year on both sides of the ball. And they have to be smart on offense. Mike McCarthy has to be great in his time management and making smart, wise decisions in certain times. Like, if you're in the playoffs, and I'll say this again, like, when you're in the playoffs and you have San Francisco at home and you have a crowd that's riled up, ready to go, and you win the toss, I think it will behoove you to exactly accept the football and go down and maybe score first and get your crowd involved instead of getting your crowd nervous. I mean, I know the thinking was, okay, we'll stop them on defense and then we'll get the ball. Go down and score first, get the momentum, get the crowd involved. Don't get the crowd nervous and worried like, here we go again with the Cowboys playing from behind. I mean, and that's just one incident. I mean, I don't even think we have enough time. To talk about all the incidents with the Cowboys. We don't have enough time because I can go on and on and on. Hey, I was telling somebody today, yeah, I'm going to go in there and do it by myself tonight, man. That's how I used to do it when I first started. He was like, you sure? You sure you going to survive? You sure you going to? I say, bruh, I was born surviving, man. What you talking about survive? This is what I do. I've been talking sports since I was 2 years old, or maybe even before that. Am I going to survive talking sports? Come on, man. I was born July 1st, 1970. I was supposed to have been born in September. Hell, they thought I was going to be in the incubator for 6 weeks. I was in there for 2 weeks. I said, I'm ready. It's time to go. That's how I roll, man. That's how I roll. So that's what's up. Hey, but my condolences to Bill Russell, the great Bill Russell, one of the best basketball players of all time. Lost his life at 88 years young this past weekend. Bill Russell, we know the first black head coach for the Boston Celtics, won 11 titles in 13 years. That will never be surpassed. In 13 years, won 11 titles, 5 MVPs. The only 2 people that have done better than that are Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, you can say, well, there was only 8 teams in the league. Hey, that's what it was at that time. But we know what he did as far as being a great civil rights activist. I mean, think about what he endured during those tumultuous times and the things that he had to go through, and the fact that he was never scared. He was never scared to voice his opinion, and to even during those times. And even though he continued that throughout his career and up until he died, he was a major voice for the civil rights movement, or just for social justice in general. And think about what he went through during the times he did, and was not worried about, because he knew what he brought to the table. What are they going to do? I'm 6'11" and the best basketball player in the world. What are you going to do? Stop me from playing basketball? He knew what he brought to the table, and he knew the services that he provided. So in essence, he used this platform to actually speak out on things that he didn't approve of, mainly civil rights and things of that sort. So he lost his life this past weekend, and a great role model, superb role model up until the day he died. Great mentor. He was telling the story one time about how when he was in Los Angeles, one time he was in Los Angeles, speaking of those tumultuous times that he went through, he was in Los Angeles and the police pulled him over. And even at that time, of course, we knew the times that they were living in at that time and how police used to act. But just imagine, if you think about how police are perceived these days from certain incidents, which we don't have time to get into today, but you think about how they're perceived these days. At that time, he got pulled over by the police, and they told him to they told him to go in his pockets and get his ID and yada, yada, yada. He put his hands up in the air, and he refused to put his hands down, I guess, until they forced him after a while. He said, I'm not putting my hand in my pockets, because that's only going to give you the excuse and the right to shoot me down. So he sat there because they put him over because they thought he was involved in a Brinks armed robbery. Think about that now. When he gets out the car and they see his bill, they thought he was, but he was a black man. They thought he was involved in a Brinks armed robbery. But what he was able to do on the court, so we know he endured all that, and he stood up for what he believed in. Again, a great mentor, and he practiced what he preached till the day he died. And players, you can't find a player that said anything bad about him. I mean, of course, his resume speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. But you accompany that with the personality, always laughing, always in good spirits, always feeling good, seemingly feeling good. And man, was well liked, was well loved. He's definitely going to be missed. But what he was able to do on the basketball court, think about what he did in college. Think about what he did in high school. Between high school and college, I think, let me refer back to my notes. Between high school and college, he, I know 27 out of 30, I don't even think I wrote that down here, to tell you the truth, but let me see. I'm about to tell you right now. Let me see what else I forgot to mention while I'm looking at this real quick, in case I find it, I don't find it. Well, you know what he did at San Francisco. He won a national championship right there. And then, of course, he won again, 11 in Boston. But I guess what I was looking for on here, I had a stat written down somewhere about just how clutch he was. Such a clutch performer. And he was a winning type player. Now, he played against guys, of course, during those times, of course, the talent wasn't like it is today as far as the centers that he was playing against. But that's what happens. Even in today's game, whether it be basketball, football, or baseball, whatever you do, if you're playing against a lesser opponent, you do what you're supposed to do. And you win the game. And you dominate. And so that's what he did. He was a winning basketball player. Wasn't noted as a scorer, a tremendous scorer, but he did what he had to do. So, especially in crunch time, that's the point I'm trying to get to. And all through high school and college, it's like he did something like 27 out of 30 times to where he brought his team from behind in the closing minutes. Like, so out of 27 out of 30 times to victory after being behind by so many points, something to that regard. But that's how clutch he was. And not only brought them back by his scoring ability, but the way he ran the floor, the way he trusted his teammates, block shots, rebounding. I mean, I can go over his stats. I mean, they're out of this world. The stats that he had, averaged 20 rebounds a number of times, block shots at will, was a pogo stick. I mean, he's Bill Russell. He's Bill Russell. So what he brought to the game and what he did, woof, you'll probably never see it again. You will never see it again. But may he rest in peace. And my sincere condolences to him on behalf of the sports court. I'm sure Eddie Cox will concur with my opinion on that. And Zion, speaking of basketball real quick, Zion, we were talking about Kyler Murray and the provision in his contract. You got Zion, who was kind of annoyed by the fact that who signed that big-time contract with the Pelicans. What's Zion's contract looking like? A lot. I know that much. But Zion signed a max deal, 5 years, $193 million, rookie max contract with escalators and things of that sort that could escalate up to $231 million. And they were pretty much, I mean, I talked about Kyler Murray and that subtle thing that I think Arizona pulled to get him to be better as a student of the game. Zion was annoyed that they would question his work ethic because of the clause they put in this contract about his weight. And I don't blame the Pelicans for that. But see, that's a ploy on their part as well to motivate him. But he was annoyed because, like he's always said, and like I've always said, when Zion is healthy, he's a very hard worker. Now, he needs to stay away from when he's injured, he stayed injured too much. Now, when he's injured, he had to stay away from the table. I mean, he may be one of them guys. I remember when I was in college, I used to eat like the lineman. I ain't gained no weight. I would eat with the lineman. Hope he's not one of those guys. I told a big lineman one time, I mean, he was eating so much, was so happy to eat. He said his grace twice. He said his grace before the meal and then took a few bites and said it again. I said, come on, man, you just said grace, bro. So hopefully Zion is not one of those guys. But when he's healthy, he's working. He's a harder worker than just about anyone. And we know the Pelicans know what he can bring to the table when he's on the floor. And I'm sure they vetted the process and they know exactly that foot has healed 100%. Now they have a team around him. C.J. McCollum, Ingram. You have Brandon Ingram still there. You add Zion in the mix with some of the other players, with that coaching staff. And now Zion feels like, okay, I had a max deal. He's not thinking about his money anymore. Now, he can't help when he gets injured, but he has to stay in shape. Even if he gets injured, you can't balloon and blow up. But that's probably just his body type. But that's in his contract now. So that would give him more incentive to not just eat just because you're injured. So I look forward to seeing what he does as well. Checked out some of LeBron James' son, Bryce James, highlights on YouTube. Hey, already 6'6". He's only 15, and he kind of moves like his dad. A couple of my guys, they sent me some video of him. I say, okay. Now, we all know LeBron James Jr., they call him Bronny. He's older. He'll probably be in college. Well, he will be in college before his brother Bryce. But I think after watching what I've watched, at 6'6", at 15, it may still be growing. His dad is, 6'8", 6'9". And the way I saw him playing, he moves kind of like his dad. And if LeBron can continue to – and you know he knows the game, and he's only going to get better. Both of those guys, you know they're going to be cerebral and students of the game. And so I was just looking at the way he moved and certain footwork and certain things he was doing with certain shots. I say, yeah, he's been getting coached by his dad. If LeBron continues to work with his natural ability, with his genes that he has, of course, from LeBron, with the genes that he has, if LeBron could just continue to make sure that he does exercises that helps his explosiveness, because you can't teach explosiveness. And one thing LeBron James had, even in high school, was explosiveness. So even though you're going to have it naturally, I don't know how much he has of it like his dad, but if I'm LeBron, to go along with the rest of his game that you definitely want to evolve, I think you continue, and he's gonna get probably more explosive also as he gets stronger. But you get him with the right personal trainer and the people to work on that quick twitch and that explosiveness. If he does that, if he's anywhere close to explosive as his dad, even LeBron at 37 is still explosive. Watch out for that guy, Bryce James. And that's just a little tidbit right there. That's just a little tidbit that I want to bring to your attention. But hey, I'm gonna get out of here. It's time to go. It's been fun. See you guys next week. This court is adjourned. The Sports Court, the show where we keep it 100% of the time. This court is adjourned. Legends live and let live. Hey, stay blessed. Stay blessed. And rebuke the devil. Rebuke that punk ass. Peace. Legends live and let live. Again, Skrillerilla. I'm out, man. The Sports Court.